like you're doing much better.
Oh, I am. I am so much better. Thank God. It was definitely a scary period, which I think is one of the reasons why I've been so much of an advocate of making sure that people practice social distancing and do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how many days has it been before? Because this started, your whole saga with the coronavirus, COVID-19 started how long ago?
Oh man, maybe about a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
a complete month ago. Um, and it was a really, really hectic, I would like to say, it might be even a little longer than a month, but it was a really hectic 10 to 12 days
Mm-hmm.
before you started to kind of feel like, okay, I think I'm coming out of this and I think I might be okay. And then just, me getting my appetite back and gaining the weight that I lost, which, is never a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But just really getting my oxygen and my wind back because, I had pneumonia in both of my lungs because of the disease, which
Yeah.
really affected your breathing. And you don't realize until once you're well and you go for that walk and you're trying to figure out why you're tired and out of breath. So I've been slowly but getting myself, back in shape.
Yeah, and so let's go back to when you first got sick because it just achy. You didn't know immediately I've got the Rona, so to speak.
No, it was funny because I came home from my last show and I was going to be off for about 3 weeks, which I was kind of excited. But I also realized that they started, talking about that they were going to possibly close some stuff. I went to my wife and I said, you know what, we need to go to the store and basically fill our house up with food.
Mm-hmm.
And while we were at the store, because this was beating everybody to the punch, but while we were at the store, we got a message that Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson contacted Corona, that the NBA was shutting down, that literally everything went haywire while we were at the store. So we were basically happy and blessed because, we had pretty much, she kept saying, like, can you imagine what it's going to be like tomorrow? But while we were at the store, I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? I don't feel well. And she said, what's wrong? And I said, I just feel a little achy. So
Mm-hmm.
she was like, just go home and get in the bed. And I went home and I got in the bed and I almost barely don't remember the next 10 days. I was just achy. Like I really felt like, okay, I'm coming down with the flu. But
Yeah.
it was a different kind of flu, just aches and pains. And, I would go to sleep and I could swear that I was sleeping for about 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I would wake up and I had been asleep for 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in a deep sleep and dreaming and hallucinating. And my wife started to say that I woke up one time and she was looking at me. And I looked at her and asked why she was looking at me so strange. And she said, I know how you breathe, I know how you sleep, and I know how you snore. And none of that is normal.
Yeah.
And she checked my temperature. My temperature was 103. And she was like, nope, let's go. And went to the doctor. And they basically gave me a flu test,
Mm-hmm.
because they weren't even really testing like that for Corona.
Mm-hmm.
And came back. And she said, I need to give you a chest x-ray. And then she came back and she looked at me and she said, listen, you have pneumonia in both of your lungs. I'm going to prescribe you some heavy antibiotics. If you feel 1 ounce worse, I need you to go straight to the emergency room because this is very serious. And I went home and I went through it. I went through it for a good 4 or 5 days, until the antibiotics kind of kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't eat. I didn't have any appetite, didn't have any sense of smell, any sense of taste. And it was about 4 days before my wife brought me some soup and I ate it and I could tell my appetite was going back. But it was a really dark 4 days. I started to worry a little bit in those 4 days.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Was there a moment? And I think I had that Rona. I was sick for 2 weeks. I couldn't move.
Yep.
I call it that Rona because it sounds less scary
Yeah.
to me, But everybody I talked to, and I've interviewed so many people who have this, and they said that there was a moment in there where they thought this might take me out, and they never felt that way. Did you have that moment?
Absolutely. Thank God I had 2 moments like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I was about to break down, my wife walked into the room and she looked at me and she pulled me right out. But I went through a period that I was like, I have had an extremely blessed life and traveled and seen so much stuff. And I was like, I cannot believe this is how I'm going out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, this is crazy. You would have never thought that it would be that. But thank God, she walked in the room and she would not let me go into that dark place.
Yeah.
But it's definitely real because, I've never felt like that. I've been sick. I've never been sick like that. That was a little bit different that I can tell you. I've had the flu, I've had pneumonia, and that wasn't either one of those.
Yeah. That Rona is real. And so how is it? How's your family, first of all? Your wife, everybody okay?
Yeah, my wife lost her sense of taste and smell for about 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have any other symptoms. My kids were completely fine. I got nervous because I gave it to my mother-in-law, and she got really sick. And then, and you're beating yourself down because, I'm realizing that I'm the culprit.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank God she pulled through. Everybody is fine. But I am really shook right now. Like, for the very first time since I've been sick, I went out 2 days ago and I went to the store. And it was anxiety like I've never had. Like, I wanted to tell my wife to turn around and take me back home. Because, I think the thing that scares me is the unknown.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can get it twice,
Mm-hmm.
because I've heard reports that you can. I heard reports that you can't. I've heard reports that people that had it, they got tested 30 days after no symptoms and everything was cool, and the test came back positive. So now I'm afraid because I don't want to give it to anybody. But it's just so much of the unknown has made me just not even want to leave the house.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, a lot of people believe that if you got it, that you're going to have some superpower. You don't believe that.
I don't know. And I'd rather take caution on the side of it could happen until I get confirmation. And everywhere that I've read and looked, you see cases of people, I have a good friend that said he had it twice. And just knowing that, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good.
That was enough. You said one time was enough.
Listen, I don't want my worst enemy to go through what I went through.
Yeah. Yeah. And I read that you had actually, before you knew that you had COVID-19, you went to visit your mom, who's in that.
Oh yeah. Like, as soon as I came back from my last show,
mm-hmm.
I went to go visit my mom, and I had friends that had come over. And my mom's 92 years old. So, and I'm probably more terrified of her being confined, but to realize that the potential that I could have gave that to my mom, you'll lose sleep over stuff like that. So, like I said, I think the scariest thing about all of this is you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, and it would be some level of comfort. That's why I think I'm kind of freaking out watching them open beaches and things like that. I'm kind of like, listen, that's not good.
Yeah.
That is not a good look.
Yeah.
I understand that people are cramped up in the house and, and frustrated. I'd rather be cooped up in the house and frustrated than not here.
Yeah. And I think a lot of businesses are so frustrated because they're not making any money and they could lose everything. And that's the big issue. But I mean, and so now you're moving forward, you feeling good. We had a story yesterday where when somebody's son ignored the social distancing guidelines, infected their whole house. Her family member came to help them, infected their house. In total, 9 members of the family tested positive. Just your message to folks, especially people who may be asymptomatic, I mean, wandering around here, infecting their whole household. Just your thoughts on that.
I have a friend of mine who unfortunately lost her grandmother in a nursing home.
Yes.
That had more to do with a lot of the employees of the nursing home are young kids that go out and have no symptoms. Just because you don't have any symptoms don't mean that you're not a carrier and that you can take this back to some of your loved ones who are more compromised. And you know, and it scares me, you know, because it's an unknown killer. It's an invisible killer that you don't realize that you could be carrying. You know, it doesn't have to affect you. You can infect somebody else. And the best way to deal with this is just stay in the house and let's let this ride through.
Yeah, I saw your hashtag, hashtag stay your ass at home.
Keep your ass in the house.
Keep it in the house. I mean, because that's the big thing. I wanted to tell you also, there's a group of Black doctors out here doing tests at Black churches. Because the disparities are real. I mean, any of your thoughts on how this COVID-19 is hitting our community?
You know, unfortunately, the recession doesn't hit our community. Like, we don't, you know what I mean? Like, our community is in a place that when people talk about the recession, no one in the hood understands what the recession is, because the recession is always in the hood. So they're always the one that have to go to work when they're sick and brave the elements. Unfortunately, this is something that there are a lot of people that are still working and have to work, you know, because of their situation. And that is predominantly in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much why it's, you know, it's so high. You know, the video that I got of 100 kids on a basketball court playing basketball in the middle of this kind of lets you know that they do not believe that they are affected by this. And that's the scary thing, because they are, you know, if it's not, you know, directly them being sick, it's them giving it to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully, what do you want you sharing your story to do for this community of folk who are at the basketball courts, who are ignoring this social distancing guidelines?
Well, I mean, I think that if we at least understand, you may not feel bad, you may not believe that you have it, but you could potentially be a carrier, and you can take this to your mom, your dad, your grandmother. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for your siblings.
Yeah, yeah, amen to that. And so will you be doing more DJ parties on IG?
Yes, listen, every Saturday, I'm doing something called the Magnificent House Party to practice social distancing, hashtag keep your ass in the house. Because if I can make people dance in their kitchen while you making a sandwich and having a good time for a few hours to keep people in the house, then that's exactly what I'm gonna do.
Amen. And so where can people follow you?
You can follow me at DJ Jazzy Jeff, and that's basically across the board. That's DJ Jazzy Jeff on Facebook. That's DJ Jazzy Jeff on Instagram, DJ Jazzy Jeff on Twitch, DJ Jazzy Jeff on YouTube. You know, I'm just, you know, like I said, we're all in the house. We all have to make the best out of the situation. So if I could play some music, and that's kind of, you know, I was sitting here, you know, 40 minutes ago and was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go live at 12 o'clock just to see if I can get some people, you know, to brighten up their day, give them something to do, something to listen to for a quick 30 minutes. You know, like, we all have to do our part. And because I play music and make people have a good time, you know, I'm gonna include that in my part.
Wonderful. And as we wrap this up, I feel like COVID-19, this crisis, is creating innovation. Do you see it as is there a silver lining to all of this?
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. It's, you know, last Saturday, you know, when I played for everybody, I had 350,000 live viewers on Facebook. I have never in my life played for 350,000 people. So to realize that I can sit home and share music with people, it's almost bringing a community of us together. You know, watching pictures of the LA skyline, and you can see clouds because there's no smog. So there's absolutely a silver line in all of this. And to realize that we're all learning to do things that we've never done before. We're learning to be videographers. We're learning to, you know, social content. You know, you're learning innovation. You know, you catching up on TV shows. You know, there's always a good and a bad side to it. And I think one great side of this is think about how much we're going to appreciate outside in nature when we can go out.
And look, everybody says when they open outside again, I'm gonna be so happy. Yeah, and
Yes.
the earth is clear. The earth is healing right now because we're all in our houses. So with that, I want to say I love ending things on a positive note. So DJ Jazzy Jeff, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I
Thank
hope
you.
that this helps other people. Thank you so much.
Please, please stay in the house. Stay in the house. I don't care if they tell you it's okay to go out. Follow the majority. If the majority of people are saying this ain't cool, don't go outside.
Yeah, yeah. If not for you, for your grandma, for your mama, siblings.
Right.
Thank you so much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time.